They didn't auction her. They didn't sell her. They laughed as they handed her over. Broken, they said. Entertainment, they said. Have fun. Eli Mercer almost didn't take the crate. It sat in the dead ring of Kepra Station, half buried under scrap metal and leaking coolant, its surface scorched and dented like it had survived a small war. Someone had spray-painted a crude symbol on the side, an alien smiley face, stretched and mocking. Beneath it, a label blinked faintly. Entertainment Unit. Non-returnable. Eli frowned. Entertainment units didn't end up here unless something had gone terribly wrong. He was just a scavenger. A human repairman who lived off forgotten machines and bad luck. He wasn't looking for mystery. He was looking for parts he could sell before the station authorities noticed him breathing their air for free. But the crate felt wrong. As he moved closer, his wrist scanner chirped once, then died completely. Power surge. That alone should have sent him running. Instead, he crouched and pressed his ear against the metal. Something inside breathed. Slow. Uneven. Alive. Frag me, Eli muttered. The seal resisted, then snapped open with a hiss of stale air and burnt insulation. The smell hit first, ozone, blood, and something sharp and unfamiliar. Then the light came. A soft, broken glow pulsed from inside the crate. She was curled into herself, limbs thin and trembling, restraints biting into her wrists and ankles. Her skin shimmered faintly, like dying starlight trapped beneath glass. Cracks of blue and violet light flickered across her body, unstable and uneven, as if her own biology was failing. Her eyes opened. Violet. Wide. Terrified. She tried to scream. No sound came out. Eli froze. She wasn't a machine. Not even close. The crate's internal projector flickered to life, throwing text into the air above her. Unit status. Damaged. Primary function. Entertainment. Secondary function. Pain response. Repair value. Not cost-effective. Eli's stomach turned. Someone had programmed her to suffer. Her fingers twitched weakly, metal cuffs grinding against cracked bone. She reached toward him without understanding why, her glow brightening just a fraction as if responding to his presence. That was when the crate beeped again. Warning. Unit may react to empathetic stimuli. Eli swallowed hard. Empathy. He shut the projector off and snapped the crate's power node free. The restraints went dead with a soft click. She flinched anyway, curling tighter, waiting for pain that didn't come. It's okay, Eli said quietly, though his voice shook. I've got you. Her glow pulsed once, brighter. He lifted her out. She weighed almost nothing. Too light for something that was supposed to be alive. Her head rested against his chest, and for a split second, the glow under her skin synced with his heartbeat. Eli felt it. A hum. Deep. Ancient. He carried her to his workshop, an illegal cluster of welded scrap and half-working machines hidden between cargo pylons. The moment he laid her on the table, every sensor in the room screamed errors. Energy readings spiked. Gravity warped slightly. Lights flickered. What are you? Eli whispered. Her lips moved. Salith. The word came out broken, barely more than breath. You can talk, he said, stunned. Her eyes focused on him with painful effort. Why did you stop? Stop what? The pain. Eli didn't answer right away. He didn't have one. He connected a stabilizer to her chest, human tech, cheap, untested. The glow under her skin flared violently, then steadied. For the first time, her breathing evened out. Salith stared at him like she was seeing something impossible. They said, she whispered, humans don't care. Eli laughed once, sharp and humorless. Yeah. We get that a lot. Before she could respond, every alarm in the workshop lit up at once. Unauthorized energy signature detected. Varelian class anomaly confirmed. Eli's blood ran cold. Station authority beacons locked on his location. Salith sensed it instantly. Her glow intensified, instinctive, defensive, and suddenly the air around her warped like heat above fire. Tools rattled. Metal groaned. No, Eli said quickly, stepping in front of her. Don't do that. She looked at him, confused. They will hurt you. Eli grabbed a plasma torch with shaking hands and grinned like a man who'd already made his decision. Yeah, he said. They usually do. Outside, heavy boots slammed against metal. Weapons charged. A voice boomed through the walls, cold and mechanical. Return the unit immediately. It is not a person. It is property. Salith stared at Eli, her eyes glowing brighter than before. He stood between her and the door. That's where you're wrong, Eli said softly. And somewhere deep inside her, something ancient woke up. The door didn't explode. That was the first surprise. Instead, the metal softened, glowing orange as the plasma cutter traced a perfect circle through it. The smell of heated alloy filled the workshop, sharp enough to sting the lungs. Eli tightened his grip on the torch, heart hammering so hard he felt it in his teeth. Salith stood behind him now. Not hiding. Standing. The glow beneath her skin was brighter than before, flowing in slow, deliberate patterns instead of broken flickers. The warped air around her bent light like a lens, and every loose object in the room vibrated as if the station itself was nervous. They are afraid, she said quietly. Eli swallowed. Good. Means we're doing something right. The cut circle fell inward with a heavy clang. Smoke rolled through the opening, followed by armored boots stepping into the room with mechanical precision. 3 enforcers entered, weapons raised, visors glowing with threat markers. They stopped when they saw her. Even through the armor, Eli could sense the hesitation. Varelian. The word carried weight across the galaxy. Civilizations older than human spaceflight whispered it like a warning. Walking power cores. Living catastrophes. Entire wars had been fought just to keep their kind contained. And here one stood barefoot on an oil-stained floor, wrapped in a stolen human jacket. The lead enforcer recovered first. Step away from the unit, human. Eli didn't move. She's not a unit. The enforcer's weapon hummed louder. You are harboring restricted bioenergy property. Failure to comply will result in. The lights went out. Not flickered. Out. Absolute darkness swallowed the workshop, followed by a low, resonant hum that vibrated through bone and metal alike. Eli's ears rang. His teeth clenched involuntarily. Salith gasped. The glow beneath her skin surged, no longer gentle, but fierce. Lines of light traced ancient patterns across her arms, her neck, her face. Symbols Eli didn't recognize burned into existence, hovering just above her skin like living equations. The enforcers shouted, voices distorted with panic. Energy spike, containment breach, fall back. Too late. The gravity shifted. Not violently. Precisely. The enforcers lifted off the floor, suspended mid-step, weapons torn from their hands and crushed inward like paper under a fist. Their armor groaned as invisible pressure wrapped around them, pinning them helplessly in the air. Eli stared. Salith, he whispered. Easy. She turned toward him, eyes blazing like twin stars. For a terrifying second, he thought she didn't recognize him anymore. Then her glow softened. The pressure released. The enforcers collapsed to the floor, gasping, armor cracked, weapons ruined. They were alive. Shaken. Broken. But alive. Salith swayed. Eli caught her just before she fell. Her glow dimmed rapidly, light draining from her skin as if the effort had cost her more than he could see. He lowered her gently onto the table, heart racing. You didn't have to do that, he said. Her voice was weak now. They would have taken me. Yeah, Eli said quietly. Over my dead body. That was when the station screamed. Alarms howled through Kepra Station, layered and urgent. Red emergency lights flickered back on, bathing the workshop in harsh crimson. Unauthorized Varelian activation detected. Containment protocols escalated. Military response inbound. Eli felt cold spread through his chest. Military, he muttered. You've got to be kidding me. Salith's eyes fluttered open. If they come, They will not stop. Neither do we, Eli said, already moving. He grabbed a portable shield generator, slamming it onto the floor and kicking it into life. A translucent barrier shimmered into place around the workshop, flickering under the strain of rising energy scans. He worked fast. Too fast. Hands moving on instinct born of desperation and years of fixing things that were never meant to work again. Okay, he muttered. Human rule number 1. If something wants to kill you, make it confused first. He rerouted power from the stabilizer, feeding it into Salith's failing energy patterns, not to amplify them, but to smooth them. To lie to the station sensors. The readings dropped. From catastrophic to wrong. Not safe. But wrong enough. Salith watched him, weak but aware. You are altering my flow. Yeah, Eli said. Think of it as duct tape for the soul. She almost smiled. Outside, heavy impacts shook the hull. Dropships docking. Boots. Orders barked in alien tongues and translated warnings. Eli leaned close to her. Can you walk? She tried. Failed. He scooped her up without hesitation. I'm sorry, she whispered. You will suffer for this. Eli snorted breathlessly. Salith, I suffer on a daily basis. This is just louder. He slammed a control panel, opening a maintenance shaft hidden behind the workshop wall. Darkness yawned beyond it, filled with cables, heat, and risk. They moved as alarms crescendoed. As soldiers breached the shield. As weapons fired and ricocheted uselessly off distorted space. At the edge of the shaft, Salith clutched his shoulder weakly. Why do you keep choosing this? Eli paused for half a second. Because, he said, and jumped, someone once threw us away too. The shaft swallowed them. Behind them, the workshop detonated in light and sound, masking their escape. Far above, in command chambers that had never considered humans a threat, ancient systems updated their threat assessments. Human involved in Varelian liberation. Probability of escalation. Unacceptable. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy started paying attention to humans again. And Eli Mercer was running straight into its spotlight. The maintenance shaft was not built for running. It was built for crawling, sweating, and hoping the cables overhead didn't decide to arc at the wrong moment. Eli slid down the ladder rungs with Salith in his arms, boots scraping metal, sparks raining past his shoulders as weapons fire chewed through the workshop above. The explosion chased them like an angry god. The shaft shook. Bolts screamed loose. Somewhere above, something very large tore free and fell, missing them by meters before vanishing into the darkness below. Eli didn't stop. He hit the bottom hard, knees buckling, pain flaring up his spine. He rolled, protecting Salith by instinct, absorbing the impact himself. The floor was hot, vibrating with the pulse of the station's reactors. Salith gasped. Her glow flickered wildly. Too much, she whispered. They are tracking me. I know, Eli said, breathless. That's why we're going somewhere stupid. He took off down the corridor, boots pounding against the curved metal tunnel. Emergency lights flashed in warning colors that meant nothing anymore. The station was awake now. Fully awake. And it was angry. Behind them, doors slammed open. Boots followed. The sound of pursuit echoed closer with every second. Salith stirred in his arms, eyes blazing faintly. Put me down. No. They will kill you. Also no. She grabbed his collar weakly, pulling his face closer. Human. Listen to me. I am not what you think. If they reclaim me, they will use me to burn worlds. Eli didn't slow. Yeah. That's exactly why I'm not letting them have you. The corridor split ahead, maintenance left, cargo right. Eli skidded left without hesitation, slamming his shoulder into a control panel and ripping it open. He yanked cables free, twisted them together, and kept running. Seconds later, the corridor behind them erupted in blinding white light as the improvised overload detonated. The shockwave threw Eli forward. He crashed through a hatch, tumbling into a vast open space. The hangar. It was old. Forgotten. Half-sealed to vacuum. A graveyard of ships that never left. Eli rolled to a stop behind a cargo crate, chest heaving. He checked Salith quickly. She was conscious. Weak. Glowing erratically. Okay, he muttered. This is where plans usually fall apart. The hangar doors began to seal automatically as alarms blared. Gravity fluctuated. Loose debris drifted upward, then slammed back down. And then the soldiers arrived. Not station enforcers this time. Military. They moved with terrifying discipline, weapons humming with energy tuned specifically to Varelian signatures. Their armor bore sigils Eli didn't recognize, old, sharp, and very serious. The lead officer stepped forward, visor reflecting Salith's glow. So, the officer said calmly, the rumors were true. Salith stiffened. Her glow brightened in fear and anger. You enslaved us, she said, voice shaking but strong. You broke us. The officer tilted their head. We contained you. For everyone's safety. Eli popped up from behind the crate. Funny. From where I'm standing, it looks a lot like torture. Weapons snapped toward him instantly. The officer raised a hand. Do not kill the human. Yet. Eli grinned tightly. Appreciate the courtesy. The officer's gaze never left Salith. Return willingly, Varelian. Or we will extract you. The human will not survive the process. Salith looked at Eli. Really looked at him. He shook his head slightly. Just once. Something changed in her expression. The fear burned away. Replaced by resolve. You taught me something, she said softly to Eli. Oh, he said. Now's a weird time for a lesson. That pain does not define existence, she continued. Choice does. Her glow surged. Not wild. Focused. The hangar lights shattered. Symbols ignited around her, vast, geometric, ancient. The air screamed as energy folded inward instead of exploding outward. Gravity bent. Time felt wrong, like a skipped heartbeat. The soldiers opened fire. Their weapons froze mid-discharge. Every energy bolt hung in the air, trembling. Salith rose from Eli's arms, floating, light pouring from her skin like a newborn star. You feared us, she said, voice echoing with something far older. So you chained us. She clenched her fist. The soldiers' weapons collapsed into molten slag. Armor cracked. Systems died. They fell to their knees. Eli shielded his eyes, staring in awe and terror. Salith, easy. She turned to him instantly. The power recoiled. The glow dimmed just enough for her to look like herself again. I won't lose myself, she said. Not like they wanted. The hangar doors finally blew. Vacuum howled. Debris and soldiers were dragged screaming into space. Eli grabbed a nearby shuttle, ancient, ugly, barely functional, and threw Salith inside before sealing the hatch. He slammed into the pilot's seat, hands flying over controls that hadn't been updated in decades. Come on, he begged the ship. Don't fail me now. The engines coughed. Then roared. The shuttle tore free of the hangar as Kepra Station shrank behind them, alarms still screaming into the void. Silence followed. Stars stretched ahead. Eli slumped back, laughing shakily. Well, he said. Guess we're officially criminals. Salith sat beside him, exhausted, glowing softly. No, she said. We are free. Far away, military networks updated again. Human-aided Varelian awakening. Human resistance exceeds projections. Human threat classification, escalating. The galaxy was no longer asking if humans mattered. It was asking what they would break next. And Eli Mercer was flying straight into that answer. The shuttle rattled like it might come apart at any second. Panels buzzed. Warning lights blinked in colors Eli didn't want to translate. The navigation display flickered between star maps and static, as if even the ship was unsure whether it still belonged in one piece. Eli kept both hands on the controls anyway. Okay, he said aloud, more to himself than anything else. Engines are hot, hull integrity is a suggestion, and the fuel gauge is lying to me. Perfect. Salith sat strapped into the co-pilot's seat, her breathing shallow but steady. The glow beneath her skin had faded to a soft, rhythmic pulse, like embers under ash. "You should have let me stay," she said quietly. Eli snorted. "Yeah, and let them turn you back into a battery with feelings? Hard pass." She looked at him, really looked at him, as if trying to understand how something so small could be so stubborn. "They will not stop hunting us." "Us," Eli repeated, smiling despite the fear clawing at his spine. "See? That's teamwork." Before she could respond, the stars ahead twisted. Not jumped. Twisted. Space folded inward like fabric pulled through a ring. Eli swore. "That's not good." A massive shape emerged from the distortion, sleek, angular, unmistakably military. A cruiser slid into real space ahead of them, blotting out the stars. Weapons charged. Salith stiffened. "That is not station military." Eli's mouth went dry. "Please tell me it's worse." She nodded. "That is a sovereign containment vessel." The shuttle's comm crackled to life, voice cold and perfectly calm. "Unregistered human craft. Power down immediately. You are carrying classified bioasset property." Eli leaned back, exhaled slowly, and pressed the transmit button. "You know, where I come from, calling a person property is how you start a war." There was a pause. Then the voice replied, "Human history is irrelevant." Salith's glow brightened faintly. "They mean to erase you." Eli glanced at her. "Still think I should have stayed behind." The cruiser's weapons locked on. Eli did the only thing a human with no weapons, no shields, and no backup could do. He accelerated straight at them. Salith's eyes widened. "Eli." "Trust me," he said, teeth clenched. "Humans are really good at making bad situations worse." The cruiser fired. Space lit up. Eli slammed a manual override, dumping every ounce of remaining power into the engines. The shuttle screamed as its frame protested. A beam grazed their flank, tearing plating away and venting atmosphere. Alarms shrieked. Salith cried out as the shock rattled her body. Instinctively, her glow flared, spreading through the shuttle like liquid light. The damaged systems stabilized. The engines surged beyond their limits. Eli stared. "You're powering the ship." "I am not trying to," she said, strained. "It is responding to me." The shuttle slipped through the cruiser's firing arc, so close Eli could see armored figures through viewports turning in disbelief. Then Salith screamed. Not in pain. In memory. Images flooded the cockpit, cities burning, stars collapsing, Varelians chained inside machines, forced to feed empires that feared their freedom. Her glow exploded outward, not as a weapon, but as a shield. The cruiser's next volley bent. Literally bent. Energy curved away from them like rain around an invisible dome. The sovereign captain's voice returned, no longer calm. "What is the human doing?" Eli laughed, wild and breathless. "Surviving." Salith gasped, fighting to pull the energy back in. "If I lose control." "You won't," Eli said instantly. "You're not their weapon. You're you." She looked at him. The light obeyed. The shuttle lurched as Eli punched in blind coordinates. Uncharted, illegal, insane. Space folded again, rough and unstable, but it folded. As they tore into slipspace, the sovereign cruiser fired one last shot. It missed. Barely. Darkness swallowed them. Silence followed. When the stars returned, they were somewhere wrong. No trade lanes. No signals. Just an ancient system, its sun dim and red, planets cracked and scarred as if something terrible had happened here long ago. Eli slumped back in his seat, shaking. "Okay," he whispered. That might have worked." Salith stared at the system ahead, eyes wide with recognition. "This place," she said softly. "This is where my people fell." Eli turned to her slowly. "You're telling me we jumped into a dead Varelian system, Yes. On purpose or by cosmic coincidence? She hesitated. I think, it called to me. Eli let out a long breath. Somewhere far behind them, alarms echoed across military networks. Sovereign analysts watched the data replay again and again. A single human shuttle. A freed Varelian. Weapons bending. Containment failing. Threat assessment updated. Human emotional bonding with Varelian entities identified as critical risk factor. For the first time, the galaxy wasn't just afraid of Salith. It was afraid of what humans inspired her to become. And as the shuttle drifted toward the broken world below, Eli Mercer had no idea he'd just flown them straight into the birthplace of a power the universe had buried for a reason. The planet looked dead. That was the first lie. From orbit it was nothing but fractures and scars, continents split like broken glass, oceans boiled away long ago. Storms crawled slowly across the surface, made of ash instead of water. No cities. No lights. No signs of life. Eli stared at the view, fingers hovering over the controls. That doesn't look like a great place to stop for fuel and snacks. Salith didn't answer. Her glow had changed again, not brighter, not weaker, but deeper. Slower. Like something breathing beneath the planet's skin was breathing with her. This world was not destroyed, she said quietly. It was silenced. Before Eli could ask what that meant, the shuttle lurched. Not from turbulence. From gravity. The ship was being pulled down. Whoa, 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 Eli muttered, fighting the controls. I didn't consent to a landing. The engines screamed. The navigation system went blind. One by one, systems shut themselves off, not from damage, but from obedience, like the planet itself was telling the shuttle to be quiet. They dropped through the clouds. The sky burned red. The ground rushed up. At the last possible moment, the pull softened. The shuttle slammed into blackened stone, skidding, bouncing, finally coming to rest in a field of crystalline ruins half buried in ash. Silence fell. Eli sat frozen, waiting for pain, fire, or death. None came. He exhaled shakily. Okay. I officially hate this place. Salith unstrapped herself and stood, unsteady but determined. The moment her bare feet touched the ground, the planet answered. The cracks in the stone glowed. Lines of light spread outward from her step, racing across the ruins like veins filling with blood. Towers long collapsed shuddered. Dust lifted into the air, swirling gently instead of choking. Eli's breath caught. You're turning it on. She looked down at her hands, trembling. No. It is turning me on. A sound rolled across the land, not an explosion, not a quake, but something deeper. A resonance. Like a note struck across the entire world. Then the ground split open. Eli stumbled back as a massive structure rose from beneath the surface, unfolding like a machine remembering how to be alive. Plates of dark crystal shifted aside, revealing a chamber glowing with contained starlight. Symbols burned into the air. Varelian. Salith gasped. The core. Eli stared. Every species has a thing called the core, and it's never good. This one is, she whispered. And it is dangerous. The chamber responded to her voice. Light surged upward, forming shapes, figures made of energy, tall and elegant, with eyes like collapsing suns. They were not alive. They were echoes. Ancient Varelians. Eli's knees nearly gave out. I'm guessing they don't do small talk. One of the figures turned toward Salith. Its voice wasn't sound. It was pressure. Meaning. You are unbound. Salith straightened, fear and pride colliding in her chest. I was broken. You were incomplete. Another figure shifted, its gaze falling on Eli. Why does the human stand within the sanctuary? Eli swallowed. Because I carried her here. The chamber went still. The echoes reacted. Not with anger. With shock. A human carried a Varelian. Salith looked at Eli, realization dawning. They never expected that. The first figure spoke again, slower now. Humans were deemed insignificant. Too fragile. Too brief. Eli shrugged weakly. Yeah, we get that a lot. The light around the core intensified. That assessment was incorrect. The echoes began to merge, folding inward, pouring energy into Salith. She cried out, not in pain, but in overload. Eli ran to her without thinking, grabbing her shoulders. Hey! Stay with me. Don't let them drown you in, whatever this is. Her eyes locked onto his. The energy stabilized. The echoes froze. You anchor her, the voice said, something like or creeping into it. You limit what we could not. Salith's glow settled, stronger than before but controlled. She stood taller now, steadier, power humming beneath her skin without tearing her apart. She understood. They didn't break us because they feared our power, she said slowly. They broke us because they feared what we could become, with others. Eli felt a chill crawl up his spine. A sudden tremor shook the chamber. Then another. Eli's wrist scanner, long dead, flickered back to life, screaming warnings. Incoming signatures. Multiple. Sovereign fleet. He laughed, short and disbelieving. Of course they followed us. The echoes turned toward the sky. They come to reclaim you. Salith looked at Eli. Not afraid. Resolved. They will not, she said. The core responded. Across the dead world, ancient systems woke fully for the first time in millennia. Defense arrays unfolded. Energy surged through buried conduits. Eli stared up at the glowing sky. You're about to start a war, aren't you? Salith took his hand. No, she said softly. They already did. Above the planet, space began to bend as the first sovereign ships tore out of slipspace, right into a system that was no longer asleep. And this time, humanity was standing at the center of it.